Hello and welcome, my name is Simon Dan, and after a week of double responses I am back to stand up for science and reason. Today I'm responding to a video made by a channel called Beyond the Imaginary Curve, and it's a water kills the globe type one. This guy believes he is correct with so much conviction that the level of delusion is quite frankly startling. Let's see what he's got.
Hi there people, I'm making this video yet again and I am hugely embarrassed. Now again, I am no embarrassed for me, I am embarrassed for these absolute imbecilic morons who are out there in the world actively denying reality. Some of these characters like ALK, Jed, Wolfie, Soundly, and any other moron who wishes to deny reality, this is directed at your stupidity, okay?
My stupidity and I are ready.
Now, we talk about science, or these people talk about science, and so do many other people, and claim that nobody does anything practical to back up their claims or assertions. Now, I really shouldn't have to show this practically. It is a self-evident fact of reality that is well understood and applied. Liquid water does not have the ability to conform to the exterior of shapes and objects. Water will seek its level, must be contained, or it will flow, unless it establishes level where it will seek and maintain its level.
Everything you've just said there is true for here on Earth.
So I'm hugely embarrassed. I'm probably going to mumble my way through this, but it has to be done because these imbeciles, these absolute incompetent, numpties have to be shown over and over again.
I put it to you, sir, that you are the imbecile for repeating an experiment that actually shows gravity is real, when you think it disproves it.
Now this, number one proof that debunks the fact that people are telling you live on a globe, right? I'm going to demonstrate it, and I'm going to use some examples that they like to use. The first one being a basketball.
The number one proof we don't live on a globe. If this is the number one proof, the Flat Earth movement is done.
So, we don't accept sophism, where people are going to come and say, oh, but it has to be bigger, it has to be bigger. Oh, a football or a basketball in no way, represents the Earth. Well, that's your claim. Your claim is that we live on the exterior of a spherical object, and you're claiming that liquid conforms and sticks to the spherical object. Now, if we go and we apply, that claim and we look for it in a practical sense, if it doesn't hold up, your claims are rubbish. That's science.
But it's not science to conduct a rubbish experiment though, is it? And that's precisely what he's about to do.
As we can see, we have the basketball. What happens when we pour liquid on the basket? Oh. Now, I'm going to try really hard. I want to be as honest as I can. I want as much of this water to stick to the surface of this basketball as I possibly can. Okay, so I'll be really steady, try and keep the basketball still. As you can see, it's really difficult, right? And this is rubber with dimples. Okay, so there's plenty there for the water to cling to.
As someone who understands gravity and the true nature of our planet, I could have told you that was going to happen.
Now what can we see? What can we see?
A wet basketball in front of a scientific illiterate.
That it ran off. Okay, now what we're seeing here is adhesion, where the water is binding to the material here, but it is a very thin film. Now you will hear these globe religious people saying, oh, yeah, but if you were really small, that would be... No, you know, there is no body of water here. It is a very minute amount of water that is sticking to the ball.
He's right here. There is literally no water stuck to that ball. And to me, that is exactly what I'd expect. Quite amusingly, he has unknowingly proven that gravity is real. If you have studied physics at any level, you'd know that the force of gravity relies on a couple of things: the mass of objects and the distance between them. Now, I would hope that our scientifically inept friend here would agree that the mass of the Earth, on, let's remember, which he is conducting this experiment, is significantly more than his basketball. This means that the Earth exerts a greater gravitational pull than his basketball, so of course, if you pour water on anything like a ball on Earth, the water will be attracted to the objects that invoke the greater gravitational force on it, which in this case is the Earth. He has literally proven gravity with this experiment, and he was trying to debunk it.
And I am hugely embarrassed.
You should be. He goes on to talk about us globists a bit more, actually.
These people are, I consider, criminals because they are actively denying reality. Now, anybody else out there who actively denies reality and tries to push that onto others must be considered criminal because they are trying to warp people's perceptions and minds.
There is only one group of people trying to warp perceptions, and that is you. Of course, I would welcome further discussion on this, and if Beyond the Imaginary Curve would like to comment, I'll gladly listen. And if he feels up to it, I'd like to pose a question or two of my own. I've been Simon Dan. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you again soon. Hello and welcome again. My name is Simon Dan and I am back for another response video. This time I'm taking on a guy who has an issue with the moon. His name is Richie from Boston. This is another classic one from the Flat Earthers. They've got a solid belief that the moon is nowhere near as big as it is and nowhere near as far away. Richie, the floor is yours.
Yes, indeed. I'm going after the moon again. I'm going to show you some footage that I took at 6 o'clock a.m. this morning, East Coast, with a Nikon P900. Now watch. This is the snow moon that they spoke so much about. I am pointing directly northwest. The sun has yet to come up. The sun's still not going to come up for another 56 minutes. And the moon is about to set. Okay, so bear that in mind. I muted this because I sound like a creepy schoolyard creeper breathing. The camera really picks up the audio. Listen to this. Hear that breathing? Yeah, sound like one of those Pizzagate guys. Okay, so my point is, look how well I can zoom in on this moon. Okay, I'm not talking about how well I'm focusing in on it or anything like that. I'm just saying, why can I zoom in on the moon that's 200,000+ miles away, and I can only zoom in on the Prudential building that's less than 3 miles away, only so much? Do you see what I'm saying? Something is really, really wrong here.
Indeed it is, but I'm afraid to say it's your sense of reality. The moon has a diameter of 3,474 kilometres. The Prudential building in Boston is 228 metres tall. That is a significant difference. In fact, it's 0.0065% smaller. So no wonder you have trouble with the Prudential building.
But the other thing I want to talk about is the sun has yet to come up. The sun is coming up in the direct opposite direction. This is where the sun sets. So the sunrise is 180 degrees behind us, and the sun isn't up yet. What is illuminating the moon?
The sun?
That's a real question. I've studied this for my entire life, and in the last couple of years, I started to notice that things were not adding up any longer. What is lighting up this moon? The sun is not up yet. Theoretically speaking, and using NASA's own terminology, the Earth is between the sun and the moon right now. How is the moon setting but fully illuminated?
Okay, you are thinking in a two-dimensional way. Please observe. You see, because of the distance that the moon is from the Earth, it can still be illuminated while some of the Earth is in darkness. Look at this small model. The small mock-up moon is illuminated, but the surface directly below it is dark. As you can see, it's entirely possible.
Now listen to Robert Pisano right now explain the actual distance away a lot better than I can.
Hey people, what's up? This is Robert Pisano. Planete Veritas. Don't forget, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. This is going to be a short video. And I'm going to prove something to everyone.
Okay, don't let me down now. I'm waiting for this proof.
Okay? And the proof is this. I can prove in this video the moon is not 258,000 plus miles from the surface of the Earth. I'll say it again. I can prove the moon, our moon, is not 258,000 miles from the surface of the Earth.
Okay, I'm waiting.
Now, if you're looking at this particular photo, I obtained this photo directly from NASA's website. It is allegedly a photograph taken from the surface of the moon, looking back at the Earth. It is a photograph taken from NASA, taken by whoever from NASA.
Whoever. It was taken by the astronauts of Apollo 11 from the command module whilst in lunar orbit. So just to confirm, it was not taken from the surface.
You cannot identify any recognizable features, land masses of the Earth. You can't even see all the Earth. You can't. You can't tell where the beaches are, the shoreline, nothing. Mountains, anything. You just see clouds, which means you can't see the Earth clearly from 258,000 miles if you're on the surface of the moon, right? Okay. So let's keep going through this. This is from NASA, 258,000 miles. There's another photo, NASA.
Okay, did anyone else notice that this is the same photo he just used?
258,000 miles. You cannot see any recognizable land masses of the Earth from 258,000 miles. Why they didn't bring a telephoto zoom lens camera, I don't know. But let's just say you're on the surface of the moon looking with your naked eye, and you can't see any recognizable land masses.
Except this is not from the surface of the moon, is it? As I just explained.
That's the official, that they want 7 billion people on the planet to believe this moon is 258,000 miles from the surface of the Earth. I don't know what took this picture.
You see, if you can't be bothered to know everything about the proof you are using, then how can you expect someone to take you seriously? This picture was taken by Michael Collins of Apollo 11 and depicts the lunar module that contained Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong on their way to the surface of the moon. He is the only man, living or dead, to not be in the frame of this photo.
I don't know what took this picture. of this module over the surface of the moon, looking back at the Earth. Hell, the moon even looks flat.
Well, it doesn't, but let's continue.
But this is the moon looking at the Earth. You can't recognize any land masses, okay? That's NASA. Now, here is the moon.
Oh, bless him. Listen to the optimism in his voice, like he thinks he knows the proof is coming.
This is the moon. This is a photograph taken by a photographer who works for the European Southern Observatory in Chile at 8,218 feet above sea level. This was taken from the surface of the Earth, courtesy of the European Southern Observatory. These are the very large telescopes at Apparently in Chile. There are 4 telescopes that look at the nighttime sky. This is during a supermoon event. Supermoon. Okay? Supermoon. Now, you can actually recognize some of the surface features on the moon. This photo was taken a little bit less than 8,200 feet above sea level, right? Because these telescopes are at 8,200 feet above sea level, right? This photo was taken at a declination looking at a supermoon right behind the very large telescopes in Chile. Notice how clear you can see some of the features on the moon, even with this being a blood moon? Okay.
Right, 2 things. First off, the moon has no atmosphere, so there is absolutely nothing getting in the way in terms of us viewing the surface. That's irrelevant though, because you can clearly see that this photo is zooming in on the telescopes, and as such, the moon. Look how close the mountaintop looks. The photo from the moon's orbit, you can even see any elevation on the surface.
So, let's do a comparison. We can see the moon very clearly from the surface of the Earth, right? At 8, almost maybe 8,000 feet, right? Maybe this is a 200-foot declination where the photo was taken from. But according to NASA, this is a photo taken from the surface of the moon looking at the Earth.
If you seriously think that you can take a photo from the surface of the moon with a lunar module in frame like that, you are extremely deluded. It's a photo from orbit.
Now, I know a lot of people are hemming and hawing right now, but I am at NASA's YouTube channel, and this is them showing from their satellite called EPIC. This is exactly an actual video of what the moon looks like transiting the Earth. Do you understand that if you were standing right there on the moon, taking a picture of Earth, all you would see is Earth? Because this is an actual satellite transmission from NASA, according to what they tell us. Right there. That's actual footage from their EPIC satellite. That's 1,000,000 miles in space. That's actually the moon. That's actually Earth, according to NASA. If you were standing on the moon taking a picture of Earth, you wouldn't see what looks like the moon. You would see nothing but Earth. That's common sense. That's something NASA doesn't believe anybody has.
No. That's what I believe you don't have. According to your logic, in regards to this photo, if you were stood on Earth, the moon would take up the entire sky. The image looked like this because the satellite in question is so far away. Here is a small model to illustrate what I mean. So you can quite clearly see why the moon looks like it does in that animation.
and they work really hard through fluoridation, genetically modified foods, vaccines, and medications, as well as predictive programming up the wazoo.
Okay, I'm done. This guy is so far into the rabbit hole, he came out in Australia. Little globe joke there. Okay, that about wraps this one up. As always, thank you for watching. I'm finding this a lot of fun and I don't want to stop. So, I'd like to point you in the direction of my Patreon page. The link will be in the description. Help there would be much appreciated. Please do like and subscribe. As always, if the feeling takes you, a massive thank you to all my current subscribers, and I will see you next time. Thank you and goodbye. Hello and welcome again. My name is Simon Dan and I'm back for more responses. Today we are dealing with another YouTuber who has responded to one of my videos. A guy called Flat Earth Hero. It started with reams and reams of comments from him on one of my other videos, suggesting to me that I don't know anything at all about reality and that he would destroy me in a live debate. I have to admit, I entertained the thought for a short while, but then remembered that live debating a flat earther is pointless, as they wouldn't believe any of the real science that I'd throw at them, and we'd have gone round and round in circles. He instead then threatened to do a video debunking mine, so I pleaded with him that he would do, in the hope that he'd discredit himself. What followed was pure quality. It started with a response to a comment I made at the end of one of my recent videos. So I finished said video with this. If gravity isn't real, and it is in fact density that causes things to fall, then why don't clouds fall out the sky? I can explain why they don't with gravity in mind, but water is denser than air, correct? So surely it should find its level, should it not? And he started his video like this.
Water finds its level. Thought you were pretty freaking smart with that one, didn't you? I could see that.
Indeed I did, yes, and thank you for acknowledging it. I'd just like to start though by letting you know that you're wearing sunglasses indoors and it also appears to be night time. Now, as you are a flat earth believer, I'm assuming you also don't believe in space or that the sun is a giant nuclear reactor. Sunglasses are designed not only to shield your eyes from the brightness of the sun, but also to protect them from the ultraviolet radiation, something which is emitted by the sun as a product of nuclear fusion along with all the other parts of the electromagnetic spectrum. So by wearing sunglasses, you are subconsciously admitting that the sun is actually what science says it is, and that space is indeed real. Or you are just trying to look cool by wearing sunglasses indoors at night. Either way, it's not a good start for you.
You're right, water does find its level. Water. Oh, sorry, you don't catch that yet? Water finds its level. Water. H2O. Water. Still don't get it? Water finds its level. Not gas. Not ice. Water finds its level. Yeah, we said it. Yeah, we can back it up. Look at an ocean. It's fucking flat. Look at a lake. Hey, again, it's fucking flat.
Yes, that's all well and good, but I just want to address something regarding the phrase find its level. I hear it all the time from flat earthers and their little minds think this is scientific proof. The actual definition of the phrase, according to the Oxford English Dictionary, is thus: of a liquid, reach the same height in containers which are interconnected. Now, if you'd studied any science at all at any level, you'd know that one of the properties of a liquid is that it will flow and fill the shape of the container it is in, whilst not changing volume. It doesn't matter if the container is a small tub or the earth. With the earth, because of gravity, the water simply conforms to the natural curvature. Simples.
Look at the horizon. Oh, I'm sorry, the horizon. It's horizontal. When does horizontal mean curved at the edges? Or anywhere in it?
I'm glad you asked. If we refer to our old friend the Oxford English Dictionary again, we can see the definition of horizon is as follows. the circular boundary of the part of the Earth's surface visible from a particular point, ignoring irregularities or obstructions. This is a poor start for you, by anyone's standards.
Oh yeah, on the ball Earth. Duh. The same place where the spinning ball not only defies physics. You say we don't pay attention to science. Hold on. Physics states quite clearly that if you spin a freaking ball, it's going to throw everything off its freaking surface.
Technically, physics does say that, and it is true if you spin that ball here on Earth. This is because the gravitational pull of the Earth is greater than that of the ball you are holding. If you have a ball of sufficient mass out in space and spin it, voila.
Simple as that. So at what point does the ball get big enough, spin fast enough to not only stop throwing shit off its surface, but then all of a sudden, what? It's now pulling everything to its core, to its center?
I would say roughly planet size. A small moon or a large asteroid will do the trick too, though.
Why aren't fish pinned to the bottom of the ocean? Oh, buoyancy.
Indeed, the buoyant force allows fish to swim in water. Interestingly though, if fish didn't have a swim bladder, they wouldn't be able to float too well. Evolution coming in from left field there.
Why do clouds float? Oh yeah, there's another one. Contradictory to your statement earlier. Yeah, the cloud vapor, the gas, the water vapor, it is congregated up there. It is together. If it wasn't together and making thicker than freaking vapor drops, like you're saying, oh yeah, they're so small that they're too small to get a pull by gravity. It's not enough to pull it down because it wants to fly away. Okay, now realize what you're saying. Okay, now we've got evaporated water. It's tiny little droplets. And then you want to go ahead and say, yeah, they're not on the Earth's surface no more. They're not getting thrown away, but still, they're reversing the way that a spinning ball should work because of what? I don't know. But they are in the air, suspended, and they're not getting pulled down because they're too small to get affected by the gravity?
Boy, you like making words up, don't you? Okay, two glaring errors here. One, you're saying clouds are water vapour. They aren't. Water vapour is a gas. Clouds are condensed water that forms around dust particles and ice crystals. If you'd have listened to my explanation, you'd have known that. Two, again, you haven't listened. I stated that those water droplets are so small that the buoyancy of the air provides enough force to keep them in the atmosphere. Gravity does have an effect on them, but the buoyant force is stronger. When they get big enough though, the buoyant force is not enough to fight gravity and they fall as rain.
Gravity, yeah, I'm saying G-R-A-B, because it's bull. Grab-it. It's supposed to grab everything and pull it to its core.
Yeah, we got it. Thanks.
That means it doesn't say everything but the little stuff, or everything but, no. Hey, you're a genius. Newton said everything with mass. Does a tiny vapor of water have mass? Yes, it does. It has mass. If there's any of it there, it's mass. You understand that? So you can argue with your hero all you want, dude, but Newton said it. Everything, right?
Yes, I'm aware of that, and I never said at any point that gravity has an effect on some things, but not on others.
Except for the stuff that doesn't fit with my narrative. But flat earthers, they're just they don't know what they're talking about. 'Cause
Yes, now we're getting somewhere.
they got an explanation for everything. Yeah, dude. It's kind of what we do. You guys sure as hell couldn't do it, so we got to. Yeah. We're not going with your version of crap, because when you try to repeat your version of crap, you find out that it's all crap. Everything, all of it, it's a lie. It's BS, and it's really in your face stupid.
Are you still talking to flat earthers, yeah?
In your face, like, dude, you guys are arguing for stupid stuff. Literally, stupid. Like, if I were to approach you and be like, look, if I spin this cube 1,000,000 times faster than I'm spinning it right now, it's going to replicate what we're doing on Earth. And then you would have the friggin' ability to call me stupid.
I'm lost. Are you stupid or not?
I would agree. Yeah. Doesn't matter how fast I spin anything, dude. Until I can prove that it happens by repeating it again and again. That's what repeating means. It's not gonna hold. We're not gonna make it a law. We're not gonna make it part of our reality. You know, we're not gonna write it down and say that this is what's happening.
I'm sorry. I genuinely don't know if he's with me or against me now.
You guys are going off of some way out there stuff, and you're serious. You are serious, man. There's a difference between flat earthers and globe believers, all right? Because there's a separation now. You know it, I know it. You're on one side, I'm on the other.
Okay, got it. We're against each other again. Right, I'm good. Continue.
You know what the separation is? You and me. We both had the same education.
Right, I'm fairly certain that we haven't had the same education. Please don't say that.
We both had the same handicap put on us that we had to overcome. But, you know how long it took me to become a flat earther, bro?
5 seconds when you saw a YouTube video that made no sense and had some awful experiment as proof?
I'll tell you. Well, if you count the time that I ignored it, I think I ignored after I first started seeing stuff about it, and you know, of course, I thought it was ridiculous for sure, dude. Yeah, no, I'm securing my knowledge of the ball, which I was. Like, I know what the science behind the ball is. All right, I do.
I'm actually fairly confident that you don't, but please continue. I want to know if I'm right or not.
You know, I'd like to forget it now, but unfortunately, I know. The difference between me and you is when I finally broke down and said, all right, I'm seeing it too much. There's something here. Like, I just, you know, if anything, I'm just going to debunk it because it's going to be easy. It's stupid flat earthers, right? 30 seconds, bro.
Oh, so close. 25 seconds out.
30 seconds is what it took. I watched a boat go over the horizon. And then the impossible. Camera zoom. Zip. Full view. Wait, it disappeared bottom first. Saw it go over curve, and then the zoom brought it full view back. Now, to a lot of people that don't understand, you know, history, that's not big a deal. Maybe they just messed up on the dimensions or this or that or the other thing. Oh, hold on. I know my history a little bit, though. There's a reason that the ball Earth came into play. There's a reason that it became a thought to be observable fact that we were on a ball. And that the observable fact was ships going over the horizon. A lot of people talked about it before, but there was no proof of it.
That's strictly not true. The first real proof we had was Aristophanes. He used real measurements and mathematics. Pythagoras, though, was the first to suggest it, and that was because he figured out the moon was a sphere. I mean, how much more reason do you need? The moon is a sphere, so the Earth is likely one too.
Until what they thought was proof when they saw a ship go over horizon. It doesn't go over the horizon. Not at all. You can let that ship go over horizon and then zoom back in on it. Keep your zoom there. Let it go back over another curve. And then zoom in again if you got a good enough camera. If you got a better camera, you can do it as much as you want. As good as your camera will get, you can keep letting it go over as many curves as you want.
So what about this picture? And this one? And this one? And this one? They all look zoomed in pretty much to maximum, yet they remain behind the curve. Funny that.
It's not going over any curve. 273 miles is the longest distance photographed by Guinness. The curve is supposed to start after 3. Are you starting to understand how ridiculous you guys are being, man?
No, but I'm starting to see how ridiculous your debunking skills are. You clearly have just taken that fact about the world's longest photo and not looked into it. The world record photo in question was taken on top of a mountain in the Pyrenees. It had a height above sea level of 2,820 metres. The mountain in the background is in the French Alps and has a height of 3,880 metres. That means you'll be able to see over the curve a bit more, plus you're looking at an object taller than you are. You plug all of that into a curve calculator and you'll see it's more than possible.
You have been hearing our evidences. You have been arguing our points. You have been seriously just cuddling up to the ball sack, dude. Get off the ball sack, bro.
I like that one. Must remember that.
It's fucking gnarly, dude. There's nothing to it. There's no evidence. No.
If you truly believe that, then I'm forced to believe that you've spent your entire life in the dark room with those sunglasses on.
Quite the contrary. And you know, the funniest thing is, dude, like NASA and all that, they're laughing at you. The Freemasons, they're laughing at you. That's why they put it so blatantly. They make it stupid. They make it so freaking stupid that they know, oh, this guy's talking about a baller. He is not part of the crew. He is not down. He is not coherent. He is a slave. That one is making us money. That's how they label you. That's your freaking ID tag. That's your tattoo. Oh, you know the earth is round, right? Of course the earth is round. Okay, that's another one of those. Yep. Don't share no knowledge with him because he ain't one of us. Trying to save you, dog.
Look, I believe you're genuine, which is nice. However, I don't need saving. I'm doing just fine. You see, I can rest in the knowledge that there will never be more than 12 flat earthers. The world and its population will be fine.
Keeps going the way it's going. You're gonna fall for that alien deception that they are pushing. I've known about the alien deception for years now, or well, about a year now. Keep it real.
And there it is. We're done. Space isn't real, but aliens are here. Thank you and good night. Wow, that was a good one. Apologies for the length of this, but I felt this guy really needed some attention. I mean, he spent time commenting on my video, so it's only fair I repay the favour, right? That about wraps it up for me today. I've been Simon Dan. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed that, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Hello and welcome along. My name is Simon Dan, and today I'm taking on a fellow Brit. Now, he is another one of these gravity deniers, and he's taking up an issue with the tides. Specifically that the moon does not cause them. I think we need to re-educate him, don't we? Okay, let's get started.
Hello, Flat Earth researchers, debaters and debunkers. It's low tide here in Portishead in the southwest of England off the River Severn estuary. The difference between the low and high tides, which occur twice daily each, is about 5 to 6 meters.
Actually, for Portishead it's more like 9 to 10 metres, but hey, who's counting?
You can see over there the difference between the low tide now and the high tide mark at the lock entrance, and the boats beyond in the marina have to wait until high tide until they can be let out of the lock. So this means that millions of tons of water is being shifted, and we are told that this is because of the moon's gravitational pull on the Earth. But the high and low tides are occurring 4 times a day, with the moon going overhead just once a day in any given location.
Right, let's think about this logically, shall we, rather than just assume the widely accepted scientific theory is wrong. The moon takes 28 days to orbit us, so it's clear that the Earth is rotating faster than the moon is orbiting us. If you are stood at a certain point, for example when there is a high tide, then the moon's gravitational pull is causing that high tide. 6 hours later, the Earth has rotated a quarter of a turn, so to speak, and therefore you are now standing in a spot that is a low tide. Another 6 hours on and you're back in a position where there's a high tide. Go forward 6 hours again and it's low tide. Finally, after 1 day, you are back where you started, a high tide. There. 2 high tides, 2 low tides, 1 day.
And with all this water being shifted with so much force, how come we and other living things which are mostly comprised of water do not feel this force acting on us as well?
This is a matter of scale. The moon's gravity is influencing us, yes, but the effect is so immeasurably small we don't feel it. Gravity weakens by a factor of its distance squared. Oceans are huge. The Atlantic, for example, has an area of over 100 million square kilometres, yet the tidal range is only a few metres. The Mediterranean, which is significantly smaller than the Atlantic, has tides that max out around 1 metre. Lakes have tides as well, but they're very, very small.
So every aspect of these tides defies logic.
I think you'll find that when you watch this video, that the statement you just made right then is fairly embarrassing for you.
Food for thought, and maybe we should be considering other theories and reasons as to why we have such a massive difference in the tides.
What theories are those then? Because there are none that exist which can explain all of it. And you know that, which leads me to think that you haven't got a clue what you're talking about. You see, you don't even know what's going on in the world, yet you are so eager to dismiss what's actually happening. It beggars belief.
So it's now high tide, and you can see those boats that were on the mud are now floating. Should be able to see the difference. A massive difference in the height of the water, twice daily. That surely isn't anything to do with the alleged gravitational pull of the moon.
Oh look, he's come back 6 hours later when the Earth has rotated quarter of a turn, enough for the tide to rise. Would you look at that? Absolute village. Okay, I'm done with this guy now. Thank you all for watching as usual. Please like and subscribe, and even share if it takes your fancy, and I will see you all again soon. Bye. Hello all and welcome. My name is Simon Dan and I'm still here banging on about the Flat Earthers. Now, before we begin, I just want to say a massive thank you to all my subscribers. I've just passed the 100 subscriber count. So next week's video to celebrate will be a comments video where we can have a look at all the funniest comments I've had so far. But today we take on a guy called Martin Litka who runs a YouTube channel called Flat Earth British. Now, being a Brit myself, I'd just like to dissociate myself from him a little and say that I am English, born and bred in England. This guy's Welsh. I won't say any more on that matter. Having seen a few of his videos already, it's clear that he is a religious flat earther and for some reason has a real hatred for anything to do with space, almost to the point of disgust. You'll see what I mean. He also abuses those in the professional arena, such as Professor Brian Cox, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Bill Nye, etc, etc. You know, people that have devoted their lives for the betterment of humanity. Not the type that's sitting in their 1990s living room all day long, pretending to be busy. On this particular occasion, he's taken offence to the Voyager spacecraft and decides to pick the whole thing apart. Unfortunately for him, I've found his critique and, you know me, have decided to show him the error of his ways. Let's kick this off.
Now, 6 fascinating facts about Voyager.
There's your clue. If you didn't believe me about his utter contempt, you do now.
This one is silly. So what they're saying, we're going to look at Voyager 1 briefly and Voyager 2. Okay. Now, they're saying that it's travelled out of the solar system and it's travelling into the heliosphere, which is out of the influence of our sun. The sun that they say is in the centre of this said solar system. Now, guess what, guys? The only image ever taken of the solar system was by that, apparently, but listen to the circumstances behind it. See if it sounds like it's Disney or reality, shall we? Okay.
I'm ready and waiting, although if this is going to go the way of your usual videos, I'll think you'll cry fake. I'll give you a chance though.
Now, excuse me, I need drinkies. When Voyager 1 blasted off from Earth and then plopped back down in the sea on September the 5th, 1977, I think I remember that day.
Hang on. You remember an exact date from 40 years ago? Okay.
It was designed to last for 5 years. Designed to last for 5 years. Let's see if any of them words I just said sink in.
Yep, I've got that. What's your point? Oh, because they are still going and NASA said they're designed to last 5 years, you think that means it's impossible. So hang on, if NASA said they only last 5 years, but you think everything NASA says is a lie, then surely you can't hold them to that. Either you believe them or you don't. Anyway, none of that is beside the point. Opticians say that glass is designed to last for 10 years, but it looks like yours are a tad older than that. Mattresses are designed to last for 8 years, but you can guarantee that a lot of people out there have a mattress far in advance of that estimate. I could go on. Just because something is designed to last for a certain amount of time, it doesn't mean that that is the strict lifespan of said object. A great example of his one-dimensional thought patterns, which will we see more of later.
Designed to last for 5 years. Get it? Okay. Today, however, the space probe continues to communicate with NASA because they say it does. As it approaches the heliopause, the boundary between solar system and interstellar space, the farthest man-made object from Earth, Voyager 1, may keep exploring space for another 10 or 20 years before the power runs out. Meanwhile, check out these cool facts about the spacecraft and its mission. Now, guys, they're tripping. This was going to last 5 fucking years, alright? Now, Voyager 1 has an identical twin. In the early 70s, the National Aeronautics and Space Agency, NASA, 1 letter away from Nazi.
Well, actually, that's 2 letters away, but who's counting? A little embarrassing.
Well, Werner von Braun. And what's it say on his gravestone, guys? SAMS, yeah, to do with the firmament. And why would the NASA Nazi scientist who makes up this bullshit have a saying to do with the SAMS and the firmament on his gravestone? Big clue, big clue. Anyway, I'm just saying that flat earthers know that generally. I do know that, but I get a lot of new people who may not know that. So, Grand Tour. Voyager made a Grand Tour of Jupiter, Saturn, possibly Uranus, and Neptune. It went well. The agency, it's a bit like all of them Apollo missions, they all went well too, didn't they? Except that one when they needed a pair of socks and some sticky back plastic. And here's one we made earlier. So, the agency planned to launch a pair of unmanned spacecraft on different trajectories to thoroughly study the planets from multiple angles. Voyager 1 and 2 are identical in construction. They weigh around 1,500 pounds. Each is equipped to conduct 10 specific experiments ranging from taking pictures to measuring atmospheric plasma concentrations. Each contains about 65,000 individual parts, some of those components representing technology that might seem laughable now, but was cutting edge at the time, but a digital 8-track recorder when it was launched in 1977. Sorry guys.
The article just said it might seem laughable as if it was launched in 1977, and he laughs. What at all?
The Voyager was designed for 5 years lifespan, but both outlived that projection by 30 fucking years. My ass, guys, my ass. Right, I just want to show you this bit about the freakiness of the recording. Listen to this. Hang on. The photograph. Check this out, guys. Its final act. The killer. In its final act of photography, Voyager 1 snapped the only existing portrait of our solar system. Not long after Voyager's 1 encounter with Saturn in 1980, NASA engineers turned off the spacecraft's cameras to conserve energy. For nearly a decade, the probe quietly flew towards deep space. But as it approached the edge of the solar system, NASA engineers on the 14th of February 1990 instructed Voyager to turn its cameras back on, take a last look over its shoulder at the planets. In a series of 60 images, Voyager 1 returned to the only family portrait of our solar system, including the Sun, Venus, Earth, Jupiter, Saturn and Uranus. The photo mosaics you'll see why, depicts Earth as a small pale blue dot, afloat a vastness of space. You see what they're doing? Because the truth is, guys, it couldn't be more the opposite. Okay, this is voodoo, this is black magic, this is fucking bullshit, guys. This didn't turn its camera around and do you think in 1977's technology it could send a signal back to Houston through, at this stage, the Kuiper Belt, the asteroid belt, okay, all of the debris, the planets, everything, and the journey that it took, which is like that, and all the planets and the sun and everything else is doing all different directions all at the same time. No set trajectory apparently, but apparently they can like sort of calibrate it so the beam will travel all the way back from outside the solar system and again in NASA. Sounds a bit fan-fucking-tastic, doesn't it?
You clearly have no idea how big space is, do you? What makes me laugh is that he thinks objects in the Kuiper Belt and asteroid belt are right next to each other, but in actual fact there are gaps of hundreds of thousands of kilometres between objects. Coupled with the fact that Voyager uses radio waves to send the signals, which is a form of light, and light travels at an immense speed, it's really not that hard to see how it's done. We're talking about technology that was created in the 1890s.
For something that was only designed for 5 years, guys. Oh boy. So they put a gold disc on it. Designed by Carl Sagan, and this woman who's got on there, who he's chatted up and married so he can get her on the track. The guy who wrote Demon Haunted World. The guy who wrote Pale Blue Dot. Now this is the whole point, guys. They tell you we're on this pale blue meaningless dot. Them images are fucking bullshit. It gets it in your consciousness, you're meaningless, you get this nihilistic attitude. What the fuck? You're only the once, may as well go for it. Sell out, yeah. Don't give a fuck for the plane. Nothing's important because of that fucking thinking, guys. Because they put it in there. Deep. That's deep, guys. That's just a seed. That's one of many seeds, guys, of that undermining. and undermining of our consciousness and our reality, guys. Should we just give up our consciousness, should we, guys, and just be bitches for fucking ever? Should we do that? Should we?
Wow, triggered. I would like to fundamentally disagree with you here. I'm an atheist, about as atheistic as they come. I'm a firm believer in the advancement of science and by extension the work we've done in discovering all we know about our universe. I have come to appreciate the wonder of life and all of our existence, and it's true that we are lost on a rock travelling through space with no real meaning. I've not murdered anyone, raped anyone, committed theft or arson, I don't engage in the taking of drugs, and I have never thrown a punch in my life. I consider myself to be ethically sound, and the morals that I live by are driven by the will to be a good, altruistic person. I don't need a magical sky fairy telling me if I'm not good I'll spend an eternity in a fiery wasteland. That's emotional blackmail of the worst kind.
So, it's got science instrument boom, so we've got cameras for spectrometry. So they're only taking colour analyses and they splice, I take it, all those colours together and make a CGI composite, even if it was real. They just said they make mosaics, guys. It's the only way to do it with spectrometry. Think about it. They're taking colours of the spectrum with this theory, and then they're mosaicing them together and they're giving you a mosaic of a pale blue dot.
You are just making this stuff up as you go along, aren't you? I imagine to impress your subs. It doesn't say camera for spectrometer, it says camera and spectrometer. You are literally making things up to suit your narrative. It's almost as if I can hear the straws being clutched for.
Cosmic ray detector, whatever. Okay, better watch out for those CMEs, guys. Put you back to the Stone Age, don't you know?
CMEs are coronal mass ejections from the Sun. They pose a serious threat to our communications and electrical systems. Making light of this is just folly.
Low grey antenna, star trackers, vital. Now, radioisotope generators, guys. Radioisotope generators.
Saying it more than once won't make you understand what it is.
And what is the fuel source? Is a radioisotope thermoelectric generator, and apparently it was the last 5 years and it's still kicking out power and sending clear signals through what would be the Kuiper belt now, because it's less the heliosphere, and the asteroid belt, missing all obstacles, no problemo, and landing the clear images and signal and data and mosaic words of mass spectrometry across vast distances of space. Is anybody buying this, guys? Oh, maybe it's just me.
Unfortunately, it's not just you, but the 0.007% of flat earthers in this world shouldn't pose a threat to the collective intelligence of our species. Anyway, that's enough from this clown. I feel like I've exposed him enough. It's tragic what a man's computer can achieve. Thank you all for watching. I have been Simon Dan. Please like and subscribe for more of these videos, and I shall see you next time. Hello and welcome. My name is Simon Dan and I'm back again with some good news. Another flat earther has decided to do a response video to my initial response. This time it's Phuket Word, whose video on tides was dismantled by me a few weeks ago. Now, it appears he's not taken my initial video too well. He went on to comment at least 30 individual times on my channel and has now taken upon himself to try and debunk me. Now, we all know how that's turned out for other flat earthers that have tried that, don't we? Let's hear from the man himself and see what he's got.
Hello, Flat Earth researchers, debaters and debunkers. I'd like to introduce you to Simon Dan.
That's me.
Who has taken it upon himself to debunk one of my Flat Earth videos, specifically about tides, and re-educate me on how tides actually work, because gravity rules, apparently. Well, let's see what he has to say.
Hello and welcome along. My name is Simon Dan and today I'm taking on a fellow Brit. Now, he is another one of these gravity deniers and he's taking up an issue with the tides, specifically that the moon does not cause them. I think we need to re-educate him, don't we? Okay, let's get started.
Hello, Flat Earth researchers, debaters and debunkers. It's low tide here in Portishead in the southwest of England off the River Severn estuary. The difference between the low and high tides, which occur twice daily each, is about 5 to 6 metres.
Actually, for Portishead it's more like 9 to 10 metres, but hey, who's counting?
You can see over there the difference between the low tide now and the high tide mark at the lock entrance, and the boats beyond in the marina have to wait until high tide until they can be let out of the lock. So this means that millions of tons of water is being shifted, and we are told that this is because of the moon's gravitational pull on the Earth. But the high and low tides are occurring 4 times a day, with the moon going overhead just once a day in any given location.
Right, let's think about this logically, shall we, rather than just assume the widely accepted scientific theory is wrong. The moon takes 28 days to orbit us, so it's clear that the Earth is rotating faster than the moon is orbiting us.
Alright, I'll just interject there.
Oh, here we go.
First of all, let's have a look at the tide forecast for Portishead, where I filmed the tide. He's right that it does occasionally reach 10 metres.
Thank you very much, good sir.
It's anywhere between 6, 7 and 10 metres. But what we can see here is that within a 24-hour period, between, say, Sunday and Monday, we have 3 high tides. We can just go down here and see that, for example, on Sunday it is going to be high tide at 10:30, and then high tide again 10 in the evening, and then by 11, just over 24 hours later, another high tide. So that's 3 in 24 hours.
Okay, I think I know what his argument is going to be here, but let's wait and see. If I'm right, he's trying to pull a fast one. It's the intellectual equivalent of jumping over a puddle and landing in a dog turd.
Let's see what his explanation for tides is.
If you are stood at a certain point, for example, when there is a high tide, then the moon's gravitational pull is causing that high tide. 6 hours later, the Earth has rotated a quarter of a turn, so to speak, and therefore you are now standing in a spot that is a low tide. Another 6 hours on and you're back in a position where there's a high tide. Go forward 6 hours again and it's low tide. Finally, after 1 day, you are back where you started, a high tide. There. 2.
Alright, let's just flip that back a little bit. Why would there be a high tide here on the opposite side of the Earth to where the moon's gravitational pull is pulling the water this way? There's no reason for there to be a high tide on this side. So this illustration in itself doesn't really make sense.
What, you just think that science makes up stuff like this to try and fool us? I mean, what would the point be in making that up? Right. The high tide on the other side of the Earth is a little harder to explain, but not impossible. It boils down to inertia. As gravitational influences draw the water towards the moon on the near side of the Earth, inertia attempts to keep the water in place. A centrifugal force is produced, and on the far side of the Earth it's stronger than the pull from the moon, causing this second bulge. Think of swinging someone around in a circle by their arms. You're pulling their arms, yet their feet are moving away from you. Finally, after 1 day, you are back where you started, a high tide. There. 2 high tides, 2 low tides, 1 day.
So again, there are usually 3 high tides in about a day.
Did we notice how quickly he moved on from this? Here, let me show you what he was referring to. Now, as I mentioned before, he's trying to be clever by saying there is 3 high tides in a day. Well, let's look at the figures, shall we? High tide 1 is at 10:38 AM, High tide 2 is at 10:58 p.m. That's your 2 high tides in 24 hours, as that 24-hour period finishes at 10:30 a.m. the next day. For the next 24-hour period, the first high tide is 11:16 a.m. and the one after that is 11:35 p.m. He was talking gibberish and trying to bend the numbers to fit his argument. Granted, it's more like 12 hours 20 minutes between each high tide, but science made that number up so as to fool you all.
With all this water being shifted with so much force, how come we and other living things which are mostly comprised of water do not feel this force acting on us as well?
This is a matter of scale. The moon's gravity is influencing us, yes, but the effect is so immeasurably small we don't feel it. Gravity weakens by a factor of its distance squared. Oceans are huge. The Atlantic, for example, has an area of over 100 million square kilometres, yet the tidal range is only a few metres. The Mediterranean, which is significantly smaller than the Atlantic, has tides that max out around 1 metre. Lakes have tides as well, but they're very, very small.
Alright, he seems to be forgetting that all the oceans in the world are just one big ocean. We've just named them differently because of where they are, based on their locale. So it's all one body of water.
Absolutely it is, yes. Thank you for clearing that up. However, I see you failed to address my point that different smaller seas and indeed lakes have tides relative to their sides. Dodgeball, anyone?
Food for thought, and maybe we should be considering other theories and reasons as to why we have such a massive difference in the tides.
What theories are those then? Because there are none that exist which can explain all of it. And you know that, which leads me to think that you haven't got a clue what you're talking about. You see, you don't even know what's going on in the world, yet you are so eager to dismiss what's actually happening. It beggars belief.
Alright, well, admittedly, none of us actually know what's going on in the world. None of us know why we're here, how we got here, who we are, or where we are.
Actually, that statement is plain wrong. We know with a good degree of accuracy all of those things. We've studied stars at different stages of their evolution. We know how they form, live and die. We've witnessed supernovas happening. We can confirm what elements are in a star from the light it emits. We know that these stellar deaths cause the creation of new solar systems. That allows enough elements to coalesce into a planet. We know the history of this planet's atmosphere and how evolution has, through hundreds of millions of years, shaped the species of this planet. There is an overwhelming amount of evidence for everything I've just said. Not scientific hearsay, evidence. Experiments that you can do yourself. To doubt any of it is nothing less than an insult to the advancement of our species.
So there are no theories or beliefs that are alternatives to the only way we've been taught to perceive our reality.
That's because the people who doubt it can't formulate anything greater than a YouTube video.
The admission is that we simply do not know anything about our being here.
That's your admission, not humanity's.
And spinning balls, all held together with the magical glue of gravity, is just another creation story.
You know what? You're absolutely right. A planet of rock, shaped into a sphere with living things on it that understand how it works, is just as unbelievable as a being who is and isn't there, making a man out of mud and then constructing a woman out of a rib of said man. One and the same.
Just like all the other religions have their own creation story. So yes, it beggars belief, as you say, Mr. Simon Dan. And I'd just like to take you back to this footage.
We have
Let's go back a bit. Now,
food for thought.
I've asked Simon Dan to show me where on earth water does not flow down a curve. You can see a trickle of water coming from the lock gates here, and it gently flows down this slight curve out to the water.
Are you serious? You're comparing the curve of the Earth to 25 meters of mud? Right, you are.
Okay, so that's one question I've asked Simon Dan, and he refuses to answer, about how it's possible to have water not flowing down a constant curve, because wherever you are on a globe, then the surface is always curving away from you and down. So water will naturally flow down a curve.
It sounds like that sentence is hurting your brain. Let me save you. Okay, I didn't answer it because it's a ridiculous question. You are what's known as a Northern Hemisphere snob. You believe that down is in that direction because you are in the Northern Hemisphere. Your whole concept of reality is massively warped.
So I'll just add my own thoughts on this, that the sun and the moon are like the hands of a clock. Just like the stars, we make observations to tell the time. That's all we can do on this earth, is tell the time. We can even predict eclipses by watching the sun and moon follow their independent paths.
You mean predictions using the current scientific models that are based on a heliocentric solar system? Those predictions. Okay, cool.
We don't have to be moving. I've also pointed out to Dan that his belief that the moon orbits the Earth every 28 days is just an interpretation of what we see. But if you actually look at the sun and moon each day, you will see that the sun and the moon follow similar paths, kind of independent from each other.
And why is it so difficult to believe that that apparent motion is due to our rotation? It's far less complicated to talk about our rotation than to factor in solar eclipses, lunar eclipses, transits, occultations, etc., etc., etc. in a geocentric model.
He's also challenged me on retrograde motion. Again, it's the Copernican model that insists that everything is circles. But what appears to be retrograde motion is like sacred geometry. We see this all the time in sunflowers and snowflakes and what have you. Yeah, so this is just it's a natural occurrence for things to make petal shapes or to turn back on themselves. Again, the insistence that retrograde motion of Mars, for example, is wrong is just because it doesn't fit with, you know, the idea that everything has to be circles.
What are you blithering on about? I'm afraid that your final undoing is because you don't have a grasp on what you are talking about. Again, you are saying that Mars just makes a pretty little pattern in the sky for no reason other than that's natural order. That is pure ignorance. I never said at any point that the retrograde motion of Mars is wrong. It actually proves we're in orbit around the Sun. Look at this photo. It's the path of Mars in the night sky over a 6-month period. There is a reason for this, and it's thus. You see, Mars has an orbit larger than ours, and as we pass Mars in our small orbit, we gradually overtake it, meaning it appears to travel backward in the sky, night after night. But then, as we start to go back around the Sun, Mars is continuing on its larger orbit, so then it moves forward again. This phenomenon alone proves a heliocentric solar system. Check mate. If you want to offer up another reason for this movement of Mars, then of course I would love to hear it. Now this guy has got a lot of subscribers, and at the end of his video he asked them to come to my video and give me a bit of stick. That's fine, I can handle it. However, can my 150 odd subscribers do better? Let's see. Okay team, I'll post a link to his video in the description. There's also another channel called Flat Reality who's been giving me some stick. I'll post a video of his in the description too. Give 'em hell. Well, that about wraps it up for another Flat Earth knockout. Thank you all for watching. Please, if you haven't done so already, check out my Patreon account where you'll get access to exclusive videos not seen anywhere else. Thanks again. Please like and subscribe if the feeling takes your fancy, and I'll see you next time. Bye.